Welcome to the High Rise Podcast, presented by Headset, the leading data and analytics company for the cannabis industry.
Welcome back to the High Rise, a laid-back, data-back conversation where we talk all things cannabis, from U.S. MSOs to Canadian LPs, products and market analysis through the lens of data. My name is Cy Scott with Headset, and I am joined, as always, by Emily Paxia of Poseidon.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the High Rise.
And we are here at South by Southwest doing a very special poolside session with a very special guest, Mikaela McLaughlin, VP of Business Development at Springbig. Welcome, Mikaela.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for joining. These are some of our favorite recordings to do because we get to sit down with cool people and hear all about what's going on. So why don't we start with you and your background and what's going on at Springbig?
Yeah, so my name is Mikaela. I joined the team at Springbig 4 years ago. I was hire number 11, and we have over 200 people on the team now, and I run a team 4x the size of the company when I started. So it's been a really fun ride. Springbig was my first job in cannabis, and I was introduced to the team by a friend that I knew through the interior design firm that I was working at before I came into the cannabis space. And I met the team at Springbig, and I was sold. I was like, I want into the company and their mission, but also, you know, I wanted into cannabis. So the rest is kind of history, but Springbig is the leading provider of loyalty and digital communication tools for the cannabis industry. We work with about 3,000 dispensaries across North America and more recently hundreds of brands to help them drive engagement with cannabis consumers.
It's very interesting because where Springbig sits in this whole ecosystem, it's a difficult aspect of the industry to engage with consumers because of the marketing limitations we face. And can you speak to some of the innovations in the technology that have been most exciting to you as of late?
Yeah, so we always say, I allow myself one corny cannabis joke per time I'm allowed to open my mouth. So today, my corny cannabis joke is that the industry moves like a sativa. It is not slow. Things are changing so quickly. So it's great for me because I get bored easily and there's no room to get bored. But, you know, most recently, I think integrations have really been king. And we're seeing, like, for our platform in particular, we pride ourselves on being able to give retailers and brands a data-driven approach to consumer engagement. So with that, like, one of our latest integrations is actually with Headset, where we're ingesting really rich customer segmentation. So integrations, I think, have been king in the past year. When I entered the space 4 years ago, we had one point of sale integration. We were knocking on the doors of every point of sale, trying to get them to integrate. And 4 years later, that's kind of just table stakes now. And I think, you know, the really harsh and stringent regulations led people to a software like ours, where you're enrolling people that are in the store, so you know they're of age, they're buying your product, so there's no issues there, and then you're not, you know, risking getting shut down by Instagram or Google, you know, shutting you off.
Yeah, we had Brett Heyman from Edie Parker on the other day, and we were just talking about different target demographics and being a female cannabis consumer. And I do feel like the technology has helped to engage me more in the category and to expand my interest sets, and especially around things like beverages or just things that are actually something I would consume versus like just bombarding me with like, get this big very high potency dab. And it's like, that's not who I am. But I think it's gotten really refined and it's helping me as a consumer. So I think, and I'm, you know, I can only imagine what other people who are even more engaged probably in buying than I am, because I'm a light consumer, is like, it must be really great for them.
Yeah, and I think that's really what Springbig aims to empower retailers to do, right? Is understanding the different customers that exist in their store and personalizing messages. If you go back, like when I started in the industry, it was like every day at 9 a.m., every dispensary was sending out a text, flash sale, BOGOs. And when we entered the space, we were like, whoa, let's not get into this race to the bottom. You don't have to do that. Like, let's understand who needs a discount to come in the door again. And let's give the discount to them. And to your point, understanding what people buy, what they're likely to buy next, or helping them expand their product category or the different categories or products that they're purchasing. So to me, again, it all ties back to integrations and data, and our platform in particular, we're only as smart as what we know. So those industry relationships and partners with point of sales and data companies and e-commerce has really gotten us to a place that we're really sophisticated. Like, we can help a retailer, once a customer has visited 4 times, we can accurately predict the time that they're likely to visit next. And think about how important that is to make sure you're not bothering somebody while they're trying to put their kid down for a nap. Like, they're not thinking about their next cannabis purchase right now. Let's be in touch at a time when it's not going to be intrusive and it'll be more meaningful.
Do you think some of that sophistication that you guys are providing, is that kind of being pulled from the retailers, kind of saying, we demand more, we're getting smarter, so we expect more from our tools? Or is it more springbig kind of pushing that, saying, hey, this is how you need to be thinking about the world, and bringing the industry up a little bit? Or is it kind of a combination of both?
It's definitely a combination of both. I would say 4 years ago, it was more us saying, like, hey, you need better tools. And when we came onto the scene, it was like tablet-based loyalty programs, punching in your phone number and getting 10 points, regardless of whether or not you spent $5 or $500. And our CEO, Jeff Harris, was really smart when he looked at the landscape and, coming from more traditional loyalty and digital communication and other spaces, he knew, all right, we have an opportunity that if we can integrate, we can give people a way better tool. So that's what we did, and kind of showed people, hey, you can segment based on, if someone is only likely to spend $30 when they come in, we don't need to market a really high tier, $55 eighth to them unless it's on discount. So I feel like in the beginning, we were really leading the conversation, and now that has pivoted. We do pride ourselves on helping retailers understand what they need and preemptively building what we know the industry is going to need in 6 months or a year. But we also partner really closely with our clients to understand what is important to them. And I think that's put us in a good position because we have some experts like Jeff, and then we've got the people actually chopping the wood and carrying the water coming to us and telling us what's important too.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely one of the more exciting things about, being in this category is just watching the maturity of the industry and seeing these operators that, were kind of basic operations in the beginning, like you said, just kind of sending a text to everybody or having these pretty simple loyalty programs, getting more advanced. And I think it's just a testament to this industry. Like, the better they get, the longer they'll be around, the more successful they'll be, and then this industry will be more successful. So I enjoy kind of seeing that and seeing them adopt, tools like this that can help them.
Yeah, the whole industry is definitely leveling up, and especially in terms of consumer engagement. So I think this is an exciting time to be in the space.
We're here in Austin,
Yeah.
South by Southwest. And so tell us about your panel. What brings you to the city?
Yes. So I spoke on a panel this morning that was about maximizing small business engagement in cannabis. And I was on the panel with Chris, the CEO of WebJoint, Sock from My Heart Jane, and Julia from KindTap. So it was a really tech-heavy panel. And that was one of the big takeaways that I really heard from everyone on the panel was, like, for small businesses to compete, you need the scalability that tech provides. So I think as technology companies, we were kind of looking at each other and saying, oh man, like, we're really important to the sustainability of small cannabis. So that was really unique, just to kind of hear a lot of different perspectives from e-commerce and point of sale, KindTap on the digital payment side, and kind of springbig sitting in the marketing fold. It was a great panel, and we had a ton of good questions from people running small cannabis businesses. So overall, felt really successful.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the audience, if you got a sense of who was in the crowd, because we're in Texas, which is a newish medical market. And so curious if there were operators that had come to town for South by Southwest, or just people that are curious about the category.
Yeah, there was definitely like some Delta 8 beverage companies that were there that are playing here in Texas now. And then interestingly, there was an operator from California, a vertical company from California that's expanding into other states that was there. There was a woman who has one of the only research licenses in the state of Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So also,
Yeah.
and there was a woman operating in Michigan with a license. So it was a pretty well-rounded crowd.
That's great. It's great that South by is so kind of invested in cannabis. It's been a number of years now, and obviously South by, the last two were canceled because of COVID, but it's great that there's still, tracks out there. I think there's just so much interest. It's still so new and changing all the time, right? Like to your analogy earlier, moving pretty quickly. So it's good to kind of bring that information here.
I mean, it's the consumer sector to watch for sure.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, I was thinking, if I wasn't speaking, I feel like stuff like this is so important to be at because things do change so quickly. It's important to be getting out and hearing other thought leaders and hearing from the people, in the trenches doing the work. And I learned a lot just sitting on the panel, hearing things that KindTap is doing in digital payments and, lines of credit for cannabis and some of the data stuff that Jane is working on. It's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So you're in Florida. And springbig is based in Florida, although you have a distributed team, I'm sure, like everybody these days. How was it kind of watching that market unfold over the years? And then, how do you think about the rest of the industry, like where we're at, where the opportunity is, where you guys are looking as an organization?
Yeah, so we opened an office in Toronto last year, and we've really increased our focus on the Canadian market, and we learned really quickly that the challenges were really different than operators were facing in the U.S., and originally we had just gone in with our U.S. team and quickly realized, whoa, like we got to rethink this whole product. So that's been a really big focus for us, and we've been really successful. The growth has been insane, and a lot of Canadian operators have been benefiting from the platform. Florida is one of those markets that it like frustrates me, excites me. It's like runs the gamut of emotions. I think, patients, what I hear from patients in Florida is they want more choice. They want more competition because they feel like they're going to get better product. And I'm hopeful for that in the future. But I am so excited by the fact that we're one of the largest cannabis economies in the country, and we are very, very highly regulated medical. So, you get 2.5 ounces every 35 days of smokable flower. That's it. And your doctor is prescribing the amount of milligrams of inhalation and edibles that you can have. So it's strictly controlled, and we're doing a lot of volume out of the state of Florida. And we're seeing some of the largest companies in the US competing for market share here. So it's a battleground state from a business to business perspective for sure. But for the patients of Florida, I think they're really eager for more competition in the market.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Florida because I wanted to kind of unpack how you as an organization deal with the challenges of, you just said it, it's a medical market. And so you're supporting operators who have operations in Florida, but then they also have probably an operation in like Arizona where it's an adult use market or another adult use market. And so I have to imagine the communications not only have to be different, but do they have to be structured differently? Like I'm just kind of curious to hear more about that. Yeah,
so like loyalty in particular, right? Like the regulations in Florida, you can actually give a lot away here. There's not a lot of regs on, marketing, promotional products, but if they're operating a, Massachusetts dispensary, the loyalty program has to look really different. And one of the unfortunate kind of fragments of this state by state regulation is these MSOs operating in 6-7 states have to be running state-specific loyalty programs. Like, think about if, I couldn't use my Starbucks app for a free coffee here at South by Southwest. Like, that's unfathomable in any other industry, but it's just kind of the state of affairs right now. And I think that's really like one of the things that cannabis operators are limited by the most is just having to play by some of the silly rules.
For sure.
It's crazy.
So you're not bored yet in the industry?
No, I could never be bored in this industry.
I know. It's changing all the time. It's moving so quickly, and it's almost impossible to stay on top of with everything going on.
I'm like way too nervous to ever be bored in cannabis.
Right? I know. And one of the things we were talking about on the panel was just like, kind of seeing this shift on the brand side with more direct to consumer and brands really seeking access to the cannabis shopper and how challenging that is. Like, it's really its own beast in cannabis. And then you've kind of got all of the dragons in every state. So it's can't get bored here.
Definitely. Well, Mikaela, thanks for joining in this special South by session. Where can people learn more about Springbig?
They can visit us online at springbig.com. We're on social at Springbig Rewards.
Right on.
Thanks for having
again.
me.
Thanks for listening to the High Rise Podcast, presented by Headset. For more information on Headset, visit headset.io.